Let me know. Let me know. Terrible delay. Sorry about that. Yay. Okay. I figured it out. That was complicated. All right. Oh, now it looks like a proper webinar too. All right. Welcome, folks. Let's see what's going on. Now I got nothing prepared. Through all that, I got no idea what I want to say. So what's the market doing? We're down a lot because there's general disappointment at the moment about what's going on with the election. Let's see where that's looking. Election. Oh, and I lost all my things. Let's see. I was going to look for the times, NY times, because they got a nice count here. Okay. So the Republicans are back to 198. They were at 199. They went to 197. Now they're at 198. The Democrats have 176. I think they were at 174 before. I think. Oh, I don't know. I'm confused now. Ooh, and they had 49, 48 in the Senate. It went back to 48, 48. So these are super close races. Like they can't even call them correctly. And we'll see what happens. Russia says it will retreat. Really? Get out of here. Wow. That's well, it's good for us, but it's bad for them. Holy cow. What is going on with these guys? That is so embarrassing. I guess we did the same thing though. I mean, frankly, we don't look at it that way, but when we were like pulling out of Afghanistan, we pulled out of Iraq. I mean, we did the same kind of shit. We retreated. We lost cities. We gave land back. So I guess we look just as stupid from their perspective. But wow, this is not good. This is a problem. I mean, we're not built for conventional warfare. I mean, our military and Russia's military is not really built for a sustained conventional warfare. We're built to eliminate other massive superpowers. And these ground wars just grind us down. All right, so did DeSantis become the front runner? Well, we don't know. We don't know anything yet. Nobody knows anything yet. Everybody has to have an opinion before the facts are in. Waiting to see what actually comes up here. So that's it. That's not very exciting. A 10-course dinner with weed in every dish. Holy shit. Yeah, how do you know when you're done? Oh, how can you? A 10-course dinner where every course makes you hungrier than the course before. That makes no sense. Wow. I'm sorry. Even when I was hardcore in college, I don't think I would have gone for that. Tight races keep control of the thing. Now, isn't that interesting? Because you get a totally different reality. You go to the Wall Street Journal, and they show 176-203. And they're showing that. They show Republicans leading in the Senate. It's like not even the same word. It's so crazy. They're supposed to be facts. There's at least numbers. You should be able to say somebody, either one of the lost, or somebody has to concede or something. You can't just make these numbers up. Republicans are favored, but not as big. Blah blah blah. Key Trump candidates struggled in the midterm. Democrats gain state houses. None of this is relevant. Facebook laid off people. Nope, nothing exciting there. Okay, well, that's it. No special news in the disagreement about who's winning the election. As I said before, though, was it the New York Times? I think it was the New York Times map. Yeah, it was house map. So I'll show you how this works. If we can get it to show the house. There's the house. So the open seats that are still open. Oh, no, look, the New York Times went that way too. 203. I forgot what the Wall Street Journal said. They still aren't calling that. So when you look at the districts that are still undecided, you can just do a count and figure out where it's going. So, this guy's 49-44, so that's Democrat. 50 to 49. He's a loser. That's a change though. This guy was losing, so that's good for the Democrats. They're picking him up. That guy's winning, but by a tiny amount. He's winning by enough to call that. He's winning by a good amount. And you look at it down here. Well, I can't point because if I point, it moves. It says 95% of the votes are in. And you have to understand that the late ballots are going to favor the Democrats because the Republicans don't believe in voting by mail. So the Democrats are the ones with all the mail-in ballots. 51-49. Tom Keene obviously won that one. Frickin' New Jersey. That's not a thing. That guy, that's too close to call with how much? 95% done. Democrat, the clear lead. Nope, that's not looking good with 95% in Iowa. I mean, you don't really think Iowa is going to be a winner for you. We counted him already. He looks good with 95% in for Democrats. He looks good. See, and that's this. There's a Richard Ward guy. Who's he gonna help? Anyway, that one looks, so it's only 69% in there, so that's still kind of a toss up. Zinke clearly wins, I guess. All right, now we're over here. Oh, total loss for that guy. That guy seems, why would they not have called that yet? Oh, nope, another one. Boy, Arizona. But up here, we got one Democrat that looks like they might have a chance. We got one Democrat that looks like they have a chance. Well, no, he's pretty solid, actually. Then where's the next column? California should be, look, I mean, wipeout. That's actually bad for the Republicans because these are places where they might have a chance in California, and they're not even close. That one they won. That one they won. There's a little better. What is this? Two Democrats ran against each other? That's weird. That one's 58-42. That one's gone for the Republicans. That one's a winner for the Democrats. Another one where two Democrats seem to be running against each other. California's so weird. That's a lot. Oh, see, there's only 29% of the votes, but not looking good for the other guy. Oh, wow. That's a biggie for the Republicans. Then we got Democrat. I don't know. The problem is not keeping track of this, of course. Judy Chu seems good. Then we got this column. Wipeout, except there's two Democrats. I guess in California that happens. Like you can only get to find another Democrat to run. Guy's up. He's Kevin Kiley. Look at him. He's going to get his win. Oh, that one won Oregon, but then the Democrats winning over there. And how this guy do? Kim, what's her face? She did okay. That one's a winner. Oh, all blue. Washington, very blue. So anyway, lots of a winner. Somebody made a check mark. Oh, I see. That's because I went on a square that wasn't gray. And then these guys are blue. I can tell you from where they're positioned. Yeah. And that's Washington again. All right, Alaska. Huh, a Democrat. Oh, that's funny. Wow, a Democrat kicking the crap out. Oh, because these idiots split. Look at them. Two Republicans ran against each other, and the Democrat took it, and together they had more votes than her. That is so stupid. That's some really poor party leadership. Anyway, I did do the math this morning, and it looked like to me that the Democrats can still win this. As it stands now, they need 42. They need to win 42 of the remaining votes. And there's I don't know, what's this? 176, so 179, 379, and you need 435. So it's 435, 79. What is it? 28? Is there 28 left? Can't be 28, otherwise you'd never get there. 218. They need 42. Too many numbers. Sorry. Got no freaking clue. All right, so 435 minus 203 minus 176 is 56 left, and the Democrats need 42 to get where they need. So they need to win 42 out of 56. And this morning, what the hell is this? Wednesday worries, Trump treats, what the That's pretty weird, huh? And this morning I did the math, and we said how many were left. There were 64 races left this morning, and the Democrats needed, they had to flip 3 more seats. It was 197 to 172. They needed 46. That's what it was. So they needed 46 of the 66. And we said now there's 56. So 10 more seats have been decided. And 5 went to the Republicans and 4 went to the Democrats so far. But it's not, but you see, it's not like those races, it only matters whether they flipped. If they didn't flip, it doesn't make a difference. Because they were, the Republican seats were going back to the Republicans, the Democrat seats were going back to the Democrats. So it's not important. Anyway, so anybody can still win this, and everybody's running around trying to make all these predictions. But the reality is that, and like I said this morning, the reality is out of 300 and whatever that were decided already, out of there were 371 decisions, the Democrats had lost 3 seats, and the Republicans needed to take 3 more seats in order to win. So unless they take 3 seats of the last 64 that were left to call, they don't win. And that's a flip, so people who won the race they were supposed to win, that doesn't help them. So we'll see. But it would be incredibly bad. I mean, and don't forget, we're talking about them flipping 3 seats, right? And they're having trouble doing that. In the last 2 races, like there were 40-something seats and 60-something seats went to the opposing party in the midterms. So no matter how you slice this is not good for the GOP, because it's typical in the midterm for the party in charge to lose seats. So it's very bad for them to run around thinking this is like a success for themselves, because it certainly is not. But we will see. NBC is projecting 222 seats for the Republicans, 213 for the Democrats, with a 7 margin of error. That 7 margin of error is life and death. Anywho, all right, enough about that nonsense. Oops, no, we don't need that. Let's see if anybody has questions. And Robin is asking if we should try NG again, natural gas, and let's take a look at how they're doing. I mean, yeah, anytime they're low. Oh, that's not it. Oh man. So I said it this morning. It's a little late now. It did not go, wait. Oh, that's like a weekly. I was gonna say it did not go back that far. So this morning when it was 575, I called along. So the answer is yes. It's very dangerous to play if you're not at a good support level, and those are usually 25s or 50s, not anything in between. And even if it's a line on this chart, that doesn't make it a good support line. $6, of course, is your next good support. So if you get over 6, you can go long with a tight stop under 6. If you get back to 575, then that's what we did this morning. We did 575 and said we'll have a tight stop below. But honestly, it popped to 6 already, so it's 6 and it falls below 6. You should be taking your money and running on a trade like that. That's $2,500 on the move. The key to playing the futures is not to play. That's the key to success in the futures. You've got to, like, 9 out of 10 times you're looking at a trade, you don't do it. Only do it when you have a reason to expect that it should be more bullish than it is, or whichever way you're playing. But you should have a reason that you think it's in the wrong position, and also you should have some very clear, solid support. And if you don't have both of those things, don't touch it. So as you can see here, and this is why I said tight stops this morning, we do have good support around 575, but when you go below that, you start falling. There's a huge gap down here of no support whatsoever. Plus, you can see over here that there was no major support. There's 550, you know, so 550 was a little support, and you can call that some support over here. But in reality, it hasn't been particularly great support. It was support down here at 550. So like I said, the 25s you can try, but below that, there's nothing there. And here, everywhere you see it, if 550 fails, you're going right back to 5, and then you can start playing again. But you got to be aware these are real. Look, I mean, look how fast that happened. These are what, hours, days? These are days. Look how in 3 days it dropped like that. We also had the gain, though. That's what happened to us the other day. We had a gain in a couple of days of all the way up there. But you know, you can lose money just as fast as you make it. So you got to be very careful. And the best way to protect yourself is to say, I'm only going to play at a very solid support line. And if it goes below that, I'm going to get the hell out and take a quick, you know, 5 points. You know, 0.5 is $500. So you got to be real quick to get out of these things. You cannot mess around. They're expensive. They're expensive options to play. Our overriding trade is UNG. And in the short-term portfolio, if I could find it, we don't need that, do we? Power options. Well, that's weird. Okay. Didn't ask me to sign in. So in the short-term portfolio, which is doing really good, $3.5 million. That's insane. We have, oh. Why do we have that? Oh, that's old. That is so old. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't put the new UNG play in. We have a UNG spread in the short-term portfolio. It hasn't been put in. I forgot we had these puts. That's interesting. That was from a long time ago. Anyway, we're supposed to have a bull call spread for UNG. It hasn't been put into the portfolio yet. And I forget what it was, but it's pretty much wherever we are now. 20, with a 10-20 spread or a 15-20 spread. So I know it was January. So January, the 20s are 340, okay? And the 15s are 560. So what's 560 minus 340 is 220, right? So for 220, you can get this $5 spread for UNG. and and basically UNG's at 19. So that's the way we were playing it, except I think we got a better price. I think we got it when it was like 150. And that's the way we play this for the, for the January with the calls. But I mean, it is just super dangerous to play these futures. So be very, very, very careful about it. Oh yeah, I wanted to look at the what's it called? The petroleum status report. Oh. So what we want to see here is how much oil has actually been released from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve this week. Plus. Okay, so this is November 4th, correct? And we had a 3.9 million increase in oil. Gasoline was down by 900,000, and distillates were 500,000 down. So on the whole, 3 minus 9 is 3, 2.5. So we have a 2.5 million net draw. So now we say, well, why did that happen? Okay. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. I'm sorry, net build. So the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, very little was released this week, only 399 to 396. So there's no excuse there to say it was the Strategic Petroleum Reserve's fault. We've got gasoline production was about the same. Oil input to refineries was about the same. Utilization ticked up a little bit, and that's not nothing. I mean, that's it's a percent. So it's a percent of what? Of 20 million. So you take 6%, 0.6%. So you've got 20774 times 0.06. So that's 1.2 million barrels. So if the refineries that are used are refinery utilization cranks up by that much, then that's gonna lead you to it wasn't 6% though, it was 0.6%. It's only 100,000 something a day. So it's out of 2774 million barrels a day times 0.006 is 124 times 7. So about 1 million barrels gets sucked into the refineries because there's more refinery capacity online. So that much percent more oil is being throughputed in the machines, right? Because if you turn on your car, right? You have your car engine, you fill up the oil, and then you turn on the engine, the oil starts pumping through the engine, right? So a certain amount of oil actually is in the engine running around that's being taken out because your engine is now running. It wasn't running before. Same thing happens with refinery capacity. When they put a refinery online, there's a certain amount of oil that gets sucked out and is being used. So that's one factor, is more oil is being used in the refineries. Was more oil exported? No, less oil was exported. We went down from 4.1 to 3.8. So there's actually probably the biggest reason for build is 2.1 million barrels less exports this week. In fact, there's your whole reason for your build right there. Prices don't change though. Nothing changes the price. Although today it did kind of come down. But that's how you get ahead of these things, by the way. If you wanted to say, it's from the API yesterday that showed a build, you could have looked and seen what the prices are this week compared to last week, and you could have pretty much guessed that they were going to come down today. But it's unfortunate. It's just such a crazy play. I don't even like to trade it right now because it is so all over the place. But today, big drops, right? Because this isn't the API report. The API report came out last night. So before the API report, things started selling off. So somebody got the word of something that demand was dropping. But I said that back here when it was 92.50 on Monday. I said I'd like to short it because it's not sustainable. But, you know, we didn't short it because it's too crazy. It's too hard to play. It's a dangerous thing to play. This is dangerous too. Well, anything in the energy market is dangerous to play, frankly. All right, so on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a monthly basis, on a monthly basis, really, it's not bad, is it? It's like we went up, then we went down because something happened, then we go back up, and now we're fading up. But on the whole, we're just basically moving along at where we would probably be in a normal market, right? Here we are. If we had gone more or less flat, we'd be up around here. And here we are. If we had gone more or less along that line, we'd be up around here. So we're shy of where we would think we would be if things were normal for the last couple of years, for the last 5 years. You know, but then again, in the last 5 years, what's happened? Have there been more risky things happening to the market? So, so clearly, we have this war in the Ukraine. We had COVID in the last 5 years. We're not totally over that. We've had the supply chain issues, right? So COVID hasn't gone away. Supply chain issues haven't gone away. The war in the Ukraine has not gone away. And these are the factors that are causing the markets not to be where you would think they would be after 5 years. If everything was going smoothly, we'd be going like that. Now, you can also say, well, we lost Trump, right? Trump's no longer president. And that's as of, when did he get kicked out? Really, wait. He got elected in 2016, right? So he was president in 2017, 2018, 19, and 20. No, that's not right. Why can I not think of this? Biden's been president for 2 years. So Biden was president all this year and all that year. Right, he had the 2020 election. So Trump was president 2020, 19, 18, and 17. There, that makes sense. Okay, so here's where Trump started, it was here. So we had Trump. The markets were very, very happy. We can make that bigger, right? Yeah, there we go. All right, so Trump gets elected in 2000. It's a 2016 election. That's right. So in the 2016 election, Trump gets elected. Okay, he reduces corporate taxes by 50%. We tend to forget this. Okay, he reduced corporate taxes by 50%. He slapped tariffs on China. He gave corporations a huge advantage. So the market was very, very happy about this stuff. So here's 2017, 2018, 19. Then in late 2019, COVID. All right, so everything was going great, but then COVID. So we should have been like this, but then COVID. Okay, then we lost COVID, then we get COVID, then Trump goes bye-bye. All right, and then Biden comes in. Biden is not as favorable for the markets as Trump was. So that's another factor you have to take into account. You know, it can be better for the country, but not necessarily better for the stock market. What's good for the stock market is not necessarily good for the country. Who are these people? Murkowski's losing in Alaska. Interesting. Anywho, so you know, so the market doesn't deserve to be here. It never should have been here in the first place. All of this was too much. You know, all this stuff. You know, it's like, yeah, okay. What concrete things changed in 2000? You know, here's Trump taking office. What concretely changed? Tariff restrictions that made it more profitable for certain companies to function. 50% reduction in corporate taxes. It's huge, huge. If taxes were 35% of a corporation's profits, right? And then they go down to 17%. It's officially supposed to be 20%, but realistically, nobody paid 40 and nobody pays 20. But so they were technically 35%. Now they're 17%. That 17% is more profit. That 17% translates into a 17% better earnings per share, which translates into higher stock prices. When Biden comes in, there's the threat. Hasn't happened yet, but there's the threat that he's going to reverse those Trump tax cuts, and he really should, because the budget's completely out of control, and that's where you get into the other thing, because that then causes the dollar to be stronger, because when Biden comes in, same shit, right? All right, so here's bye Trump. And what happens? Oh, well, here's a guy who might balance the budget, who might not say, I don't care if we don't collect any money in taxes and we just let the deficit run wild. And that causes the dollar to be stronger, not to mention the war and other shit weakening everybody else's economic outlooks. All right. Also, the way we moved through COVID, we basically said fuck it about last summer, right? Not this summer, not a few months ago, but last summer was when we, as a country, pretty much said screw it, we're going back to work and doing our stuff. So we started reopening a year ago, and a lot of countries were way behind us on that too. And that's even with Biden coming in. So people were worried about he was going to be more strict about it than Trump, but he was like, well, see what happens. So anyway, but the stronger dollar is not necessarily good for stocks, not for our markets. Look at poor Japan. Wow, that's not good either. But there was an article this morning. It said record profits in Japan, though. They're having record corporate profits because of this, because the yen is so weak. They just charge more, and that's inflation too. Where was that? That was a news item this morning. La da da dum. La da da dum. Weak yen boosting profits for Japanese companies. Yeah, I remember everything I read. But yeah, look, net profits at Japanese companies. It goes from 40 trillion yen to, what's this number? 45. So it's 10% more yen in profit, but the yen is weaker. So it's not actually a good thing. So in 1 year, you're getting 10% more yen in profit than you got last year. Last year, the yen was 90. Now it's 70. So the yen's down 20%, and the companies make 10% more yen. That's not better. But you know what? And that's the thing I talk about the US market. It's not better, but it doesn't matter, because the stock market still goes up, because you're still paying 15 times however many yen they make. There's no judgment by the market in boosting stock prices. It's going to boost them regardless if the earnings multiply. You can have a multiple contraction, which we've had, but that gets watered down when you have this kind of increase. So that's an interesting thing also that's going on. What else is exciting in the last few years? Look at this. This is months. Okay, so this is over years. Look at what's happened to corn. That's crazy. Corn, soybeans. This is food costs in the last couple of years, basically during COVID, right? Corn, soybeans, wheat, oats just started coming down. Look at meat prices. This is your inflation, right? Not metals. Metals actually calmed down a lot. Cotton went crazy and calmed down. Orange juice is still crazy, and now we're having bad crops. Coffee also. Coffee is a global warming issue. Lumber went crazy, down, up, down, craziness. I mean, how do you plan to build a house when this is happening? Could you imagine having to build a development when in the same year lumber goes from 500 to 1500 and back to 500 in less than a year, and you got to sit there and be the guy ordering the lumber. Look at sugar, you know, and of course, with cotton, here's cotton. You know, and of course, you know, so you're in the grocery store. It doesn't matter that not everything is traded as a commodity, but it looks the same if you would look at a chart of strawberries and apples and whatever. It's just and if you look at the cost of the rivets that go in your Levi's jeans, or if you look at the cost of rayon or whatever, or silk, whatever it is whatever you have, this is what's happening to everything. It's crazy, okay? It's this huge, huge inflation, and it's not going to go away because the Fed tightens. You know, the Fed's concept is if they make credit expensive, you won't borrow money to buy things, and you'll be incentivized to take the money that's out floating around in the economy and put it into the bank and collect a good rate of interest. But people can't afford to put the money in the bank. They need every cent they have just to try to maintain, you know, a lifestyle. And that's because it's inflation. It's not arbitrary things. It's not discretionary item inflation. It's essentials inflation. It's your food, it's your energy, it's your education, it's your medical costs, so on and so forth. Those are the things that are going crazy. Oh, look, this guy, he's got a, wait, what has he got? Oh, I see. That's the people who sold the Powerball ticket got $1 million, but they don't know who won the ticket yet. So what was I going to say? Anyway, so yeah, inflation is everywhere. It's in everything, and it's not going to go away because the Fed tightens rates, raises rates. That's not going to make it go away. And my thought is that they're doing it wrong, because what they should be doing is encouraging people to get out and work, encouraging companies to borrow so they can make more cotton and more orange juice and more coffee and more sugar, and that will drive the price down by increasing the supply of these things. But what they're doing when they raise interest rates is they make it harder to buy a new harvester to get sugar or whatever. I have no idea how they get sugar. I assume somebody harvests something. You need a new mill for the lumber. That's something you invest in at a certain interest rate. When you raise the rates, it's just like getting a mortgage, right? It makes the mill that much more expensive, and you're not sure the prices are going to last. So people underinvest exactly when the Fed should make it easier to invest and increase supply. It's a really ass-backwards way of handling things. I don't like it at all. All right, so, and again, the overriding thing, well, okay, let's backtrack. If you're trying to value the market, the economy, so on and so forth, okay, you've got to start with some fundamental truths. And it's really hard these days because everybody thinks they can disagree on all kinds of shit, right? But there are certain facts in the world, like the fact that the U.S. is $32 trillion in debt. That's a fact, okay? It doesn't have no effect. You can't just ignore things like this forever. It's a fact that the U.S. has 10 million open jobs that are unfilled. There are 10 million. There's companies who have 10 million jobs they can't find workers for. That's a fact. It's a fact that wages, and we talked about this, but I'm going to talk about it again because it's an important thing to talk about, is the minimum wages. Good, July 2022, very nice, just the kind of chart I want. Can I make that bigger? Nice. Okay. So it's a fact that all these frickin' states have a $7.25 minimum wage. The national minimum wage is $7.25. And all these states, including Pennsylvania, in the theoretical Northeast United States, and including New Hampshire in the theoretical Northeast United States, still have $7.25 minimum wages. Pennsylvania is just beyond me. I don't understand how that's possible. Texas, the big state. Now, I don't understand the argument. I understand people could make the argument. I don't understand the argument. I don't even see how they can, it's like when you take a side in a debate club and it's like, it's ridiculous, but you have to take that side. I don't see how anybody's going to sit there and say $7.25 an hour is acceptable in 2022. It was I forgot the date. I think it was 1989 was the last time that they set the minimum wage. Now that sounds crazy long, right? Minimum wage history. It was some insane time ago. Oh, it's 2009. Sorry, 2000, not 1989. It was 2009 when they set it to this. They went from, in 2009, they went from 5 to 7.25, 50% increase in one shot, because they hadn't raised it then since the 90s. So here we are at the end of the 2000s, and they finally raised it back up. And since then they've been like, well, screw that. We did it once. That's the end of that. It's not, you can't function. All right. So this, and you see also I think that's on the same page. If I can get this back out of here, I think on the same page, there are many, many states that are raising it. So they're going a little bit up, they're going $1 up, they're going a little bit up, they're going $1 up, they're going $1 up, they're going $1 up. So there are many, many states that are in the process of raising wages, and most of them have $15 goals over time. Okay, so this thing can't last. It can't last forever when one state's paying 15 and one state's paying 7.25. So what's going to happen for a fact, so it's a macroeconomic fact, is wages are going to rise. Wages are going to rise, and that's going to push inflation. The Fed can't stop this from happening. It's not something they can actually control. And that's a problem, because trying to do things you can't control makes you look weak. And if the Fed starts to look weak, people will lose faith in the Fed and their ability to control policy. And then they can start losing faith in the dollar. And then that starts to become a disaster, because they start looking at the debt situation. And they're like, well, the government doesn't have it under control. The Fed doesn't have it under control, et cetera, et cetera. It all can cast, it all starts to fall apart. So this is a definite macro fact that's happening. And that means inflation is going to be around for quite a while, okay? Tomorrow, we're going to get, tomorrow we get the CPI report. The CPI report, well, we can tell you right now. All right, so go back to like a daily chart. Yeah, so what's the CPI report going to say? Well, we look at the grains, and we look at, it's going to be the CPI for October. And so that was flat. Soybeans went up. Soybean meal went up a little bit. Oats were flat. Rice was down significantly, basically for the month. Soybeans, on the whole, flat to last month. They ended basically a little bit down. Wheat was down a bit. Canola went up a bit. So so you just figure it's like +1, -1, it's net. Beef, significantly more expensive. Cattle, kind of the same as the month before. Hogs, about the same as the month before. Metals, not that that's a big effect on people. You have to weigh that in too. How much do people really care about that? Not a big change. Not a big change. Nothing that would affect people too much. Coffee got cheaper. Orange juice got more. Cotton got cheaper. But then you also have to think about it. Okay, so cotton got cheaper, but that's not going to affect the consumer. The consumer is not going to see cotton getting cheaper. That's a producer price index thing, not a consumer price index thing. It'll take them a long time before this lowering of cotton gets to them. And in fact, frankly, they're probably still seeing very high cotton prices. Cocoa, lumber, same thing, how much they get quoted on a house. Sugar got expensive. That affects a lot of stuff. All right, but again, it takes a while for it to seep back to the consumer when this happens. And then most importantly, this has an almost instantaneous effect. What happened to energy in October? Oops, it got more expensive than September, more expensive, gasoline much more expensive than September, and natural gas got cheaper, but nobody's really using natural gas in October. So not going to have a big effect, but they are driving their cars. So you have to consider all the factors that go into the CPI report and how it's going to work out. What happened to housing? Housing started to come down a bit. Rent started to come down a bit. And like we said, food was basically up a bit to flat, not a big influence on food. So mostly it was the energy that went up. That's not going to be in the core CPI, of course. And shipping costs have been coming down a lot. That's a big deal too. But I don't think a lot of these prices got passed on to the consumers very quickly. So I don't see a big change in CPI. Certainly not enough to make the Fed happy, and that means that it'll be effectively probably a disappointing report. I do think the next report is going to look like they're having an effect, which is a little bit weird the way it works. And unfortunately, the next report, if CPI comes after the next Fed meeting, we're then going to want to tighten. Not that they wouldn't tighten anyway, but I mean, they're probably not going to be willing to knock back their tightening. Oh, wow. Poor Dr. Oz is getting worse for him as the day goes on. He's out. It's done. So in the background, we still have wages are still rising, prices are not getting any better, inflation is not getting any better. We still have the war is certainly still going on. That's causing problems. Europe's economy is still bad. That's being probably caused by the war. COVID, not too big of a deal, but it is shutting down China. And well, that's another thing, actually. I mean, you think it's so funny. I mean, I can't believe I'm one of those people, but what can you do? Is you get used to anything, right? Because if you look at the COVID tracker, John Hopkins. Total vaccine doses administered, 12 billion. Seems like a lot. Not enough, though, is it? All right, deaths by country, and where are we? Totals. What do we decide? These are what? 28 day. Okay, so a million. Wow. 1 million people have died in the United States from COVID. That's in, 3 years. Well, all of 2021, 22. Yeah, basically in 3 years. 1 million people died in 3 years. Okay. I think that's more than World War II. I think that's more than anything but the Civil War, as far as like something that killed Americans. Or I guess the Spanish flu is probably worse, I think. I guess that must be a day, 9,000 people a day. Is that right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's 28 days. So 9,000 people in 28 days. So 9,000 people a month. So we're down to 100,000 people a year dying now from COVID. As to infections, 97 million infections, but this is bullshit now because nobody reports anymore. Right? Everybody gets COVID. They get it for a couple of days. They go, COVID. They don't go to the doctor anymore. Not unless it gets serious. So technically, in the last month, 1 million cases. So 30 million people, 10% of the population, are still getting COVID seriously enough to report it. And of those people, 9,000 people a month are dying. So it's not like it went away. In Germany, 4,000 people. Who else has big numbers? Italy, Russia has a decent amount. Russia's got, 382,000 infections for the month. That's pretty bad. Germany, 155 is also bad. It's a much smaller country. England, 210. Boy, they're way out there. India, 530,000 people a day, not a day, a month. Oh no, wait. Totals. Clearly, this is infections. These are deaths. Oh, okay. I apologize. Okay, so these are daily infections. No, that's our death count. I know that's our death count. Death by country, cases. I get it. I'm sorry. Okay, that's what it is. It's 1 million cases in 28 days. That's not good then. So 1 million cases in 28 days is 12 million a year. And like I said, people aren't reporting. That's how many people are dead in 28 days. So we are 100,000 dead. It's the total cases is 97 million total from when we started. So 1/3 of the country has had COVID that they've reported, and the total deaths is 1 million. There's your 1 million deaths. It wasn't this million, it was that million. That's why I was confused. So the key thing we want to look for, though, is 28-day caseloads. So we're 9,000. Oh wow, and that's like nobody's worse than us. We're 9,000. Is anyone even close? No. That's wacky, huh? Look at that. Nobody, I mean, not even in the ballpark. Venezuela, 5. That's sad, man. No. Tunisia, Macedonia, Malta. Well, you don't care about these countries, but still. That's crazy that we're at 9,000. Okay, Germany. So the only country close to us is Germany at 4,000. They're at less than half. Anyway, so COVID has not gone away, but we're ignoring it for now. Worldwide, 6 million people have died worldwide. Wow. All right, so this is what we're accepting. We accept this now. We accept that in 28 days we have 1 million infections, and in 28 days we have 10,000 deaths. That's what we call being done with COVID. But basically the flu is good for killing 60,000 people, and probably the same amount of people get it. So it's not much worse than the flu now, so we now accept it, although now we have 2 flus. Instead of 1 flu, we have 2 flus. Anyway, as a macro factor, you kind of brush it under the table at this point. It's callous, it's awful. We're still, we're still letting 100,000 people a year die rather than take precautions, but that's what the whole world has basically decided. And look, that's true. Like I said, 60,000 people die of the flu. We accept that, okay? We accept how many people die of car crashes. We accept how many people get food poisoning. You can't stop everything from happening. And who was I saying that about? I was saying that about somebody. Oh, it's the drugs. I think we were talking about that last week. It's the drug industry. Why does Walgreens get fined, and CVS, they each got fined $5 billion for their participation in the opioid crisis? And their participation is taking a prescription from the doctor and handing out the pill they subscribe. Walgreens doesn't advertise, come here for your opioids. They're a pharmacy. They're not complicit in this thing. I thought that was a terrible thing. And I think that the liability on the pharmacies is completely unfair. I mean, they're just doing their job in that case. So anyway, macros. So the macro environment. The question is on the macro environment. Now, what can get worse? All right, are we comfortable? So in other words, what I'm saying on the macro environment is that we shouldn't be higher. All right, getting back to this and getting back to the monthlies, we shouldn't really be higher than we are now. This is when everything was going great, and we would have been a little bit higher here. Let's say that's 42, so maybe 10% higher. But things have gotten certainly 10% worse. We have inflation. We have a recession or recessionary activity. We have unfilled labor. We have a labor shortage. We have rising wages that is going to keep pushing inflation. And we have a war, and we still have COVID. Okay, and we still haven't, and our supply chain bottlenecks still haven't worked themselves out. So we should certainly not be back at the highs. No way, shape, or form. We never should have been at those highs in the first place, is beside the point. But so in other words, we are in about the right place. So the market doesn't have much upside from where it is right now. That's the key thing. Okay, that's the big picture macro, looking at the absolute facts. Now, what can make things be worse? Well, thing number one, the inflation that's not going away, debt that's not going away, can eventually become a whole other problem. And it absolutely will be, because we just sold 3-year notes for 4%. Okay, I made a big deal about that yesterday. We just sold our 3-year note auction went off at like 4% or whatever the number was. That's basically 3% more than it was last year, and we sold 100 million. Is it 100 million or 100 billion? No, it's 100 billion. Yeah, it's not 100 million. It's $100 billion worth of notes. The short-term notes that the government has to roll over all the time went from 3 years ago 1% to now 4%. That means that over the next 12 months, all of our debt is going to roll over into 4% notes. Okay, again, a fact that is happening in the macro that is not going to change. In fact, it's going to get worse if the Fed keeps raising rates. So now we say, okay, so we have, and this is back to the national debt clock, which we looked at last week. So we are currently paying $480 billion on interest on our debt, okay? And we have 32 blah, blah, blah trillion dollars on debt. So $480 billion divided by, is this going the right way? Yeah, 32,000 billion. There you go. We're currently paying 1.5%. That's what that number represents. It represents 1.5% interest on our debt. We are now selling debt for 4.5%. Therefore, it's going to be 3% more. So now we take the same $32 trillion of debt times 0.03, $960 billion more. So this number will be 900, will be triple. It'll be $960 billion higher next year. Where is that going to come from? Well, it's going to come from here. It's going to be added to our deficit. So our deficit will go from 1 trillion to 2 trillion. And then we talked about this last week, so I don't want to make a big deal of it. But again, I'm talking about what's the facts. Okay, these are facts. So how do you make that up? Well, we are collecting $5 trillion of taxes. Okay, but how are we collecting it? Only 2.6 trillion of it is income tax. 1.5 trillion is payroll tax. This is a joke. 428 billion is corporate taxes. Okay, which is ridiculous when you think about it. And then we're still doing the tariffs. That's why the Trump tariffs aren't going away. You can't give it up. Now that it's there, how do you give it up? How do we give up $75 billion in tariffs that we're collecting? So we're collecting, this is 4, right? And then this is 4 point something, and this is a bit here. And it comes out to 4.9 somehow. I'm not sure where the rest of the money's coming from. And that's the federal tax revenue. This is payroll tax. Something's missing because they don't add up, right? 2.6 plus that's 3.6, that's 4.1, and that's 4.5. We're certainly missing a big chunk of something. But whatever, they're saying it comes out to 4.9 collected. Either way, that's short $1 trillion versus our spending, and then we're going to have another $1 trillion in debt. So even to get back to just $1 trillion deficit, we would have to raise taxes 20%. Okay, and you say, well, that's easy because if we hadn't cut corporate taxes in half, they should be almost $1 trillion. But unfortunately, we cut those taxes in half, and it's been 6 years now since we did that. So 6 years times $400 billion. This is the sadness of the whole thing. So 6 times $400 billion is $2.4 trillion of taxes we haven't collected since Trump cut them. And that got added, that's added onto this deficit, of course. That's why we have that debt in the first place. Not the whole reason, obviously, but that's why 2.4 trillion of it is there, is from not taxing corporations. And frankly, it should have gone the other way, right? We should have gone the other way for corporations, not lower. And then you have to look at another huge amount that was cut out of the wealthiest people who pay a lot less taxes also. So a big chunk of money just goes added onto the debt, causes more of a deficit, and then causes more of an interest payment because we're further in debt. Never ends. But the thing is, how is that going to get fixed? Are we going to continue not to address it? Are we going to go next year $2 trillion in debt and just ignore it when we're adding it on to $32 trillion that we already have because this year isn't over? So it's going to be $32 trillion. We've got a $2 trillion deficit this year. Next year, it'll be $34 trillion at least, if nothing bad happens. And we haven't done anything to fix the infrastructure. We haven't done anything to fix the environment. We haven't done anything to fix global warming. We're not taking care of the infrastructure. You know, I think I said that. We're not addressing the rampant poverty that is spreading because of the inflation, which is not going to go away and is going to continue. We haven't, and that's the other thing. Don't forget, this federal spending is going to get whacked by inflation. It's going to go up about 10% next year too. That's another $600 billion that gets added into here. Because the actual spending is not what your budget spending is. Your actual spending is going to go up over time. And as you can see here, it's 5.978.6105. It's going to get worse. And by the way, we're not going to stop at 4.5%. This number could end up being $3 trillion with the interest that we're going to get. We start getting up to 7%, it's going to be, well, 7%, 30 2 times 0.07. That's 2.24 trillion additional dollars to this number. No, I'm sorry, it's 2.24 total dollars. Sorry, I apologize. That's 2.2. So basically, it's 2 trillion additional dollars. We're going to be up at a $3 trillion deficit. 10% of our 10% of our debt added every year until we make it stop. So what are we going to do? We're not going to make it stop. Then we're 10 years away from being $60 trillion in debt. You know, and I know everybody likes to say, 10 years away, who cares? It's like, that's the problem with everything we do here, right? Because we're 20 years away from losing Miami to global warming. 2050, Miami, a good part of Miami is going to be uninhabitable in 2050, and many other coastal cities, but Miami particularly, because it's extremely low lying. New York City, huge problems also. So we will either have to engage in a New Orleans type levee thing that's going to, and even that's going to get overwhelmed by hurricanes and stuff. By the way, in New Orleans, they built in the flooded out zone of New Orleans, where we had the last catastrophe. They have since built 2,000 new residential units in that area, and nobody stops these people. We never say you can't build somewhere because it's unsafe. We never do that. We just let people build wherever the hell they want, and then we have to deal with the catastrophe when it happens. Crazy. But anyway, so this is a macro reality, and I don't want to get too and so we have things we're not dealing with, like global warming, the cost of global warming, the catastrophes that occur, so on and so forth. Oh, we haven't fixed our electrical grid. With a million things we should be doing with money that we're not doing, and how can we? We're about to be completely hamstrung by our debt, and that's not a long-term thing. That's a next year thing. All right, and the Republicans, if they take the House, are going to cause a spending battle in the House, and that's going to call attention to all this, which is a really dumb thing to do. When you're that in debt, it's like if you have a company, and your company, if it depends on, like, you have a company and you provide and you're trying to get a contract to clean windows, right? And so at the meeting where you're talking about cleaning the windows, you start having a fight with other people in the company about, like, oh no, because we're going to be selling debt, we can't afford to do shit, blah blah blah. It's like, you're not going to get the people to invest in your company if they don't think you're going to be around long enough to do it, right? That's a problem. This is like airing our dirty laundry. If we're going to sit there and have another congressional fight calling attention to how badly in debt we are and how unfixable it is. And again, the Republican solution to that is they want to eliminate not the payroll taxes. Do they break the spending down somewhere? Oh, here you go. Largest budget items: Medicare and Social Security. It's a lot. It's 2.6 billion, 2.7 trillion dollars on Medicare and Social Security. So if we eliminate that, we're in great shape. We have a surplus. Everything's fantastic. We can cut everybody's taxes. Yay. Problem solved. That's effectively the Republican solution to the problem that we now have, is just stop paying Medicare and Social Security. Now, realistically, though, everybody here who has ever had a job, we all paid into this system. It's our money. It's not only they're giving us money, and that's the problem. That's the Republican viewpoint on this. They see it as the government is currently giving us money for no good reason. Whereas the reality is, it's our money. They were the custodians of our money, and very poor custodians of that. And they malinvested it, and they borrowed it at extremely low rates, and they kept raiding they raided the lockbox that Al Gore wanted set up. They raided the lockbox, and they took the money, and therefore it never returned. It didn't gather the interest it should have gathered. And again, they turn around and say, "Oh, that's your fault. It's not our fault." It's like, no, you misappropriated the funds. You took the funds, you spent it on wars, you did all this crap with it, and you didn't pay us a reasonable rate of interest. There was a point when the banks were paying 10% interest, and Social Security was paying 2% interest. And who was making the money? There were people making money hand over fist with that, the people managing the system, which were other banks. They were making money on the spread. So we got screwed, and we are screwed, and it's an incredibly, and it's not an easy to fix problem. It may not be fixable at all. And what's the net effect of that? The net effect of that is especially, and think of how ridiculous it is. It affects generally the poorer families where people can't afford to retire properly and they live on Social Security and they barely make it. And now you're going to take that away from these people, not to mention the healthcare aspect of it. And all of a sudden they've got to live with their kids, except the problem is their kids aren't rich either. And they don't have any money, so they, you know, it's going to be like those old. It's like those old things where like the parents would live in like, you know, there'd be like 2 bedrooms for the one for the parents and one for the grandparents, and then the kids would all sleep in the living room or something like that. It's going to be a disaster. So you know that's the not too distant lending environment. That's what I mean, not really the economic environment. That's what I'm worried about. That's why I'm considering, like, I think we should probably be looking at getting back to cash, because this is not going to be pretty. You know, but again, I will tell you that this was me in 2007 doing the same kind of crap and talking about the same stuff. And it took a lot longer than I thought for it to all collapse. It did collapse, but it took a lot longer than I thought, because in 2006, I remember we had real estate investments in 2006 and I pulled them all because I thought the market was going to collapse in 2006. I sold my company that had real estate business in 2005. At the end of 2005, I sold a company that I had that was a title search company in New Jersey. And because I thought that was the top of the market. I couldn't see how it could go any further. It went for basically one more year. Really, in 2007, it would have crapped out anyway. But it went for one more solid year. The people who bought it for me were thrilled at first, and then all of a sudden, everything fell apart. I didn't screw them. I sold it to a huge. In fact, frankly, I only would sell it to a huge corporation because I didn't want to sell it to anybody who might get hurt by it. But the thing, because I just was absolutely sure it was going to all fall apart. I thought it would fall apart soon. I couldn't believe how long it sustained itself. The same thing here. We could keep going. We could keep ignoring all this crap, but it's not going to make it go away. It's just going to mean it'll hit and everybody's going to be totally surprised that everything falls apart all of a sudden. But that's because none of these problems are being addressed. Nothing is being done about it. It's just going to get worse. What is that? Paper to silver ratio, paper to gold ratio, dollar to crypto ratio. These are weird things, huh? U.S. millionaires, 22 million millionaires. It's pretty good, huh? There's 22 million millionaires. That's your top 10%. 40 million food stamp recipients. God forbid these people gave these people money. That would be completely un-American, right? 64 million. Here you go. How many people care about this? 64 million people are on Medicare and 83 million on Medicaid. That's a lot. That's half the country. That's crazy. 40 million live in poverty. 27 million people have no insurance. Wow. Look at that. Manufacturing jobs, 17 million, 12. 23 million government employees, 36,000 median income. That's terrible. So you have your 36,000 median income, you got to buy a $441,000 home with that. And look at here that's telling. Median income 2,000, 32,000. Median now it's 36, so it's up $4,000, just over 10%. Median new home was 167, now it's 441, up 200 and what, I mean, up 100 and whatever percent, 150%, basically 150%. So the home prices went up 150%. Here it is in a nutshell. Home prices are up 150%. Income's up not even 15%. That in a nutshell is what's happened. I don't think you have to, actually, I don't think you need any other statistic than that to explain what's wrong with America. And that's really, really bad. So dollar to silver ratio, 787 per ounce. I don't even know what that means though. It was 265 an ounce in 1913. I don't get what's 787 an ounce, so I'm not sure what that even means. It doesn't make sense. Paper to silver. Crazy stuff, right? Anyway, so there is a, all right, anyway, point is, I didn't want to get into this too heavily, but here he goes. The point is, this is a looming disaster. It's a monster under the rug, and it's not going away. And it's not fake, it's real. It's a real monster under the rug. Your kid is right. There's something that's going to get us, and we should really do something about it. But what can you do? There's nothing you can really do at this point. It's pretty much too far gone. So it's almost the same as the problem with climate, right? It's like, well, we completely screwed things up. It would be incredibly painful to try to fix it. And do we have the will to fix it, or are we just going to tumble into oblivion? But it's not just that. We have that crisis. We have this crisis also. We have this crisis. We have this hunger. We have the hunger crisis. We have 40 million people in poverty in the United States of America. We have 27 million people who don't have health insurance. 40 million, well, these are the same people. These are 40 million people living on food stamps. That's not good. Well, that's an interesting statistic. 5.7 million official unemployed, 10 million actual unemployed. I have no idea how they calculate. Oh, wait, it said that. Actual unemployed. Total unemployed plus marginally attached workers. Okay. The workforce is still the same 160 million it always is. Population 333. 125 million. That's interesting. There's 160 million people working, only 125 million of them pay tax. Well, I guess the whole Trump family doesn't pay tax. I'm not sure who else. Things are crazy. All right, so let's see what kind of questions we have. Nebraska's minimum wage is moving from 9 to 15, and it affects about 20% of their workers. Yeah, that's huge. And it's great when you do it. I mean, look, Washington State has certainly proved that raising the minimum wage is a win-win all across the board. It's not a bad thing to raise wages. It is uncomfortable, though, when you have to adjust. You have to adjust to the new paradigm of the wages going up. And Rick says, the National Employment Law Project estimated about 150,000 Nebraska workers would get a pay increase if it passes, resulting in 280 million more a year in their paycheck. Studies have shown that 3/4 of the workers who would benefit from the increase are older than 20 and 61% of women. Oh yeah, I believe that. That makes perfect sense. Washington State raised minimum wage, one of the first people to really seriously raise their minimum wages. It's been fantastic for the state economy. California also, they raised minimum wages. It's been great for the economy. There's nothing wrong with paying workers enough money to live. And we did that math. I don't want to go through it all again, but you have to understand, like it was with McDonald's, we were talking about it, like, if a Big Mac is $7.50 and you're paying your worker $7.50, they can afford one Big Mac per hour, right? If you raise if the workers, if salaries are $2.50 or 33% of the Big Mac cost, and they are in fact 25%, we checked, or 20%, it was like 20%, not even 25. But if the salary was 1/3 of the cost of the Big Mac and you doubled the salary, then you would have to raise the cost of the Big Mac by $2.50. So the Big Mac would then be $10. Not a Big Mac, a Big Mac meal. It doesn't matter. but a Big Mac meal would be $10. But the worker would be making $15. You doubled the worker's salary. The worker's salary was $2.50 out of the cost of the Big Mac. So, just because you're paying the worker $7.50 an hour, he makes more than one Big Mac per hour. He does more contribution than just the Big Mac. So his salary is a portion of the cost of the Big Mac. So if you raise the salary portion of the Big Mac from $2.50 to $5 by doubling this guy's salary from $7.50 to $15, now he makes $15 an hour and a Big Mac meal is $10. So now the worker can afford 1.5 Big Macs per hour on his salary. Big Mac prices went up, inflation, salaries went up, wages compensated for inflation. Everybody's happy. McDonald's can sell 50% more Big Mac meals to the workers who are making 50% more money, who are making 100% more money. There's no harm in that. The harm is in what we've been doing, which is not raising wages for getting on 2 decades now. That's the harm. The harm is paying people. The harm is this. This is the harm. 20 years later, $32,000 to $36,000, but the price of a house goes from $167 to $441. This was 5 years salary. This is more than 10 years salary. That's the difference. That is destroying the quality of life of these people. You need to address that. And when you look at it, whatever. Okay, so the median income. Again, it goes back to, if you double this number to $72,000, if you paid everybody more, they would catch up with the home prices. They could afford more homes. Builders could build more homes. Everything would work out, and the salaries would be a little bit more. And and then God forbid Exxon makes a little bit less profit. Hello. There they are. Oh, and by the way, speaking of Exxon, right? Joe Biden says they're making too much money. They're gouging. Yes, they are. Okay, they used to make 10, 19, 20, 14. They lost 20, but that was obviously a virus thing. 23. They used to make about 20 billion a year. Now they make 60 billion. That's 40 billion more than they used to make. Well, that's not justifiable. They are profiting. They are making excess profits. It's exactly what he's saying. They are making excess profits off the situation. They are taking advantage of this situation, and they are gouging the consumers by taking 150% more profits than they used to take. That's not passing along prices. Not in any way, shape, or form is that justified as passing along prices. And that's happening in so many businesses. And we had a chart for that too. It was some huge number. It was in the 50, 60% range of all businesses are doing something like this, are gouging with their profits. And that's based on this very, very simple concept, okay? Fine, pass on the additional cost, but don't pass on the additional profits. And we did the math, and that works out to $1.50 per gallon is how much extra they're charging than they have to. $1.50 per gallon. They're charging you that money. And the thing is, people only use 500 gallons of gas in a year, so they're charging you $750. And that's how they make 40 billion extra dollars, by charging everybody with a car $750. And so it's like those crimes where the cable company puts on a $5 fee for something you don't even know what the hell it is, and 99% of the people never pay any attention to it and don't complain. That's what this is. It's not enough money. It's every time you go to the gas station, it's $30. It's not enough money where you really feel it if you're not poor, but I mean, that's the thing. There's not enough money where you really, really feel it, but on the whole, it's a shitload of money. Oh, I'm sorry, there's an important point there. That's how much money Exxon, just Exxon, would. I forgot about that because we were talking about it the other day. I thought about it afterwards. That's the money Exxon makes in additional profits. Doesn't count Chevron, BP, Shell, or anybody else. Everybody else's additional profits. So they are making such obscene amounts of money selling, just charging us more for gas. So it's very simple. What they're doing is taking a situation and saying, well, oh, geez, the price to us of a barrel of oil went up. Well, okay, so we used to charge, okay, Exxon says, well, we used to charge $2 for gas. Okay, $2 for gas is 42 gallons in a barrel. All right, so that's $82 they used to charge for a barrel of gasoline. Oil has gone up, even if it's double. Okay, but oil is not the only thing they sell to the consumer out of a barrel of oil. Gasoline is a portion of the barrel of oil. So in reality, the actual cost of them for the gasoline has gone from $2 a barrel to maybe $3, not even. Okay, but they said, no, we're not going to charge the consumer $2 anymore and make 10 cents. We're now going to charge them, so instead of so we were charging $2, making 20 cents. Now we're going to charge, and you can see that here. Here's 10%, right? They were making less than 10%. Now they're making 10 would be 43 plus 14 is about 13. So now I'm making 14%. So less than 10, basically they've doubled the amount of profit they're making on the gas. So they're not going to pass along the increased price plus and keep their 10%. They're going to pass along their increased price and up it to 20 cents per gallon they're going to make now when they were, or 40 when they were making 20. And that's how you get screwed. That's how everyone gets screwed. And that then drives all the other inflation. Exactly what Biden is saying, that they make fun of him, on Fox and so on and so forth, and they act like, oh, this is insane. That's not how business works. Yes, it is. Exactly how business works. It's exactly what they're doing. Not just Exxon, ConAgra, all these people, but they take it as an excuse to jack up the prices and make more profit. And it's not like it's hidden. It's right frickin' here. Here's Valero. See now, Exxon charges more money for gas, and then Valero refines it. Or Exxon charges more for oil, then Valero refines it. And their profit goes from, they were making 3%. They were making less than 3%, 2.5%. Here they made 4, almost 5%. Now they're making, I don't even know what that number is, 10 into 17. Now they're making 5.88%. They're making much more money than they used to make, charging much more money at the pump, and it's not right. It's not right that they should make $10 billion instead of $2 billion because there's a crisis. It's not good capitalism, it's gouging. And the price of and that's the problem. These guys at their level are gouging. Then the next people who use the fuel, the truckers and so on and so forth, are going to get the price increases and pass those along, and then they do a little gouging too. And then the warehouse people do a little gouging, and then the grocery store does a little gouging, and then by the time it gets to you've engorged the entire supply chain with excess profits. Corporate profits last quarter were the all-time high. Corporations made more money last quarter than they've ever made before. And the reason the S&P crashed, though, is because it's different corporations. It's not the same companies making money. Companies further down the supply chain, and that's the thing. See, that's also where it's hard to realize it. The companies closer to you, you know, Levi, the Gap, Sears, not Sears, Macy's, whatever. The people who you actually deal with, they're way up the supply chain. They're getting hit and gouged like you, and finally you have to pay the price. So those people who are the restaurants and the retail stores and so on and so forth, they're directly answering to you, and they have to come up with a price that you can stand in the end. You can't help some of them, and that's the thing. Some of them are in great shape, like the gas station just charges you whatever they charge you, so you're going to pay it. Doctors charge whatever they charge, dentists charge whatever they charge. So yeah, I went to the dentist yesterday. It was fun. It was fun for my wallet. But the price of things go up. Not only at college, freaking insane. How did this even happen? That's not on this. I don't think that's on this thing. College. Anybody see college? Retirees, disabled, manufacturing, full-time workers, private sector. No, they're not even talking about education. They're not even talking about schools that cost they're not even talking about schools that cost $75,000 per year to send your children to school. State schools are $30-something thousand now. Private schools, 50, 75 range. They're not even talking about that cost, that completely insane cost of getting an education when an education is essentially required for you to get a job. You know what my college was? My college was $8,000 a year when I went, and that was an expensive school. I could have gone for $4,000. There were schools that were $4,000 a year. Yeah, I think a state school was not even for. I remember the state school because I had to choose. I was paying my own college. It was a big deal for me to decide, but I was like, go to a good college. But I mean, I can't even imagine like if it was $300,000 to go to college at the time. I mean, basically that's your first house. You're paying off your first house when you graduate, and you don't even have a house. You just have that same diploma, and you're trying to get your first job, and you're already paying effectively a mortgage. And then you've got to get an apartment to live in. And then you've got to get other stuff, and then you got to get a car. Absolutely insane. 1.2 trillion in credit card debt, 1.8 trillion student loan debt. That's horrifying. I don't know how it's only 40,000 per student. I don't know where they're getting the rest of the money. Honestly, I have no clue. All right. Oh, wow, almost done. So, back to the markets. No. Oh, wow, yuck. Wow. I didn't even know that was happening. Wow, things are really falling apart. Yeah, so that's why the short-term portfolio is doing so well. I didn't realize it was that bad. What's the VIX? VIX. Oh yeah, look at the VIX flying up. That's why. So this is my problem, guys. Okay, I really, as time is not on our side, and it's not going to get better. There's nothing particularly great on the horizon, and we'll see how these elections go. But if the Democrats are still in power, I'm a real liberal Democrat myself, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be good for the market. And do we want? If the long-term macro of the next couple of years says the market's going to be basically flat because we don't see these things going away, and short-term is iffy, then it doesn't, a lot of our positions just don't make sense. I think when we're looking for growth, we're going to have to pull back those expectations. Can we still make money? Of course we still make money, but more butterfly kind of plays, more money where we're looking for a flat market and selling premium kind of plays. That's what we got to focus on. You can't sit here and think that suddenly the market's going to go up. It's not. For what reason? We're heading into a disaster. We could be heading into a massive recession worldwide. No escape anywhere on the planet. Things are not going to suddenly get better, and they are actually under the hood, which we just looked at. They're actually much worse than people are giving it credit for, and that's the problem. When you don't hear people discussing what the real problems are, then those problems will eventually be discovered, and everybody will freak out about them. And if the Democrats are in, they're going to be worried about the attack on these corporate profits, which is a valid attack. It's true and real. These companies are gouging, but if the companies are gouging, and even if you go after one, and this is a problem, this is why Biden should have kept his mouth shut, frankly. They should have had a hearing next year about this stuff and done something about it. But to do it now, ahead of the election, he cost the Democrats a lot of points. And what he mostly did was he mobilized the money from the corporations they fed all the Republicans to get the Democrats out, because the corporations do not want the Democrats looking at this stuff. But the bottom line is they're going to come after companies like Exxon. They're going to make a big deal about it in Congress if the Democrats keep power. But if the Democrats don't keep power and the Republicans are in, they're going to cause a budget battle over Social Security where they want to cut it. And they want to cut it so that they can continue the tax cuts, because if you don't cut Social Security and you have to deal with the reality of another $1 billion, another $1 trillion a year of debt financing, and that is reality. It is not going to go away. We will have another $1 trillion in debt annually to pay starting next year. At least, possibly $2 trillion. So you're either going to raise taxes, cut Social Security, or drop interest rates again somehow. Those are your choices. And you can't realistically drop interest rates. You don't want to raise taxes. That means you're going after Social Security. And if you do that, well, first of all, if you do that, you're taking, even if you say you're doing that, and that's, even if you thought that was a great idea, you're still going to take the $2 trillion of Social Security and Medicare that you take away, is taking it out of the economy. So you take it away, you take it out of the economy, and now you're going to still have a recession, and a really nasty one too. Because again, like I was saying, not only does it affect your parents, but your parents move in with you, and that then affects your household budget. Their money's gone. They're not moving into you because they have money to spend. They're moving into you because their whole freaking apartment, the money that you had for rent, is gone. And they come and move in with you, and you've got to basically pay for you've got to pay for space in your house, you've got to pay for heat, you got to pay for hot water, electricity, so on and so forth, food, all that shit hits you. And this is going to happen again. What was the number? 80 million households, 80 million seniors living out there. And they're all going to have to live somewhere. And oh yeah, what about when your mom gets sick and there's no more Medicare? My father, my stepfather, when he was dying, he was on dialysis, and it was $70,000 a month for his dialysis and kidney and whatever they were doing in the hospital. I just know it was $70,000 a month, and it was 10 months of that. It was $700,000. And what if he didn't have Medicare? How many people is that going to happen to? This is millions of seniors. They want to take away the Medicare. They want to take away the Social Security. So they're going to live at your house, and then they get sick. And what are you going to do about it? And how many of us are so rich that that doesn't affect you? It's insane. So that's where we're at. I'm urging caution. I've been urging caution for 2 weeks. I continue to urge caution, and and look how easy the market can fall. I mean, look at it right now. Look where we're at. It's a real house of cards, guys. All right, and the time to sell is not after it collapses. This is what happened in 2008. Everybody didn't want to sell. Everybody said, oh, no, it'll come back. It'll bounce. This is nothing, blah, blah, blah. And when it didn't, everybody said, oh, my God, there's nobody wants to buy my stock at all. A very, very dangerous time, and we need to be very, very careful. All right, so sorry, it's a sour note, but it's because I keep talking to people in chat who are like, oh, no, I don't want to close the portfolio. It's like, shut it. It's just, you got to shut them down. Take a break. Reassess the situation. Let's be intelligent about this. This is it. We had earnings. What great thing is going to happen to boost the market now? We had earnings. We had the election. Where's your catalyst? And if there's not going to be a catalyst, you got to look at all these positions really carefully and say, do I really believe this is going to go up? Is this really worth hanging on to versus the risk of a 20% drop? All right, so we'll be doing a lot of reviewing. Next week is officially, is it next week that options expire? Yep, next week options expire. So portfolio reviews next week, if we're even going to continue having them. So we will see. All right, but that's where we are. I'm very not happy with what's going on right now. All right, sorry guys. Take care. We'll do it again next week.